Welcome back to WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. The hat out in front should tell you we've merged the brands of all things sports over the last 23 years now with our Baltimore Positive brand and all sorts of cool conversations we have, including this guy's good-looking face out on the front of Baltimore Positive. You can find him on Thursdays here at AM 1570 from 3 until 5 doing the Dennis Koulatsos show. Used to be the Sunday sports voice. You still hear him on Sunday mornings before the game. Tell you what, Dan, I'll be listening on Sunday morning. I'll be driving up past the Maryland house and the Chesapeake house and looking for some really quality Philadelphia pretzels on my way up to watch the Eagles and my old pal Jimmy Schwartz from the West Side get together with the Ravens. But it is it's a happy week here for Ravens fans, right? And I would say more than anything, this defensive prowess that we showed on Sunday, albeit against a very inefficient offensive line. It was fun to sort of see the Ravens, buckle those chin scraps a little bit, get after the quarterback, get the guys off the edge a little bit, see Patrick Queen become the king for a week. Defensive football in Baltimore. It's the way we used to do it, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Let's all keep in mind, this is a quarterback that behind that porous offensive line had 3 straight 300-yard games. He never came close to sniffing 300 yards or 200 yards even. They were all over him. And at 14:26, with 14:26 left in the second quarter, Nestor, I was about done tweeting because there was nothing left. The game was over. They weren't coming back. They weren't going to score on that defense. And all that left was for Ravens Nation to pick up on, to nitpick the offensive effort. It was clear that Lamar Jackson was instructed not to run. That's his game. I think that threw him off. I'm not making excuses for the guy, but he missed 2 days of practice. He had a stomach bug. He had the knee issue. And there's no point in getting hurt against what would look to be very much a JV squad, right? You had to get out of there with no injuries. And I think mission was accomplished. They don't get style points for winning. Whether you win by 1 or by 24, it doesn't matter, right? They got out of Dodge unscathed, except for Otero Alaska, of course, the linebacker, the inside linebacker that plays special teams. That was a significant injury to the team. But aside from that, Nestor, I thought it was a good effort, and I don't know what people want from this team. And the other part of it is, I'd rather them peak late. I thought last season they peaked too early. That was my concern, having 12 straight wins heading into the playoffs. And in contrast, you see the Steelers maybe doing the same thing this year. 5-0, they're clicking on all cylinders, and all things look great for them. But it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Dennis, I would say this about the effort, and when I look at the defense, if I would have told you on a Monday morning that the quarterback was going to be sick and miss most of practice last week, he's going to be injured to begin with, we're playing not a bottom feeder, but a team that we're better than. And you would say, well, we're only going to have him run the ball a little bit. We're going to have him try to pass it a little bit more. The one thing that I'm perplexed that they didn't run the ball more, they're not running the ball well like they did last year. So all of that's off, and they're still going to win 27-3 because the defense is going to get after the quarterback. They're going to sack the quarterback. They're going to take the ball away. They're going to literally frighten the kid a little bit. I mean, I saw that kid, the confidence he had last year, that allowed him to do what he did, and even the first couple of weeks. He wasn't looking, to your point, 14:26 left in the second quarter. You look up at the scoreboard, and you're like, he looks like Spurgeon Wynn, and I've used that. I'm gonna find another dozen quarterbacks that looked very overwhelmed.
Tim Couch was the name that I tweeted out. He looked very much like number 2 of the Browns many years ago, very much overwhelmed by what was coming at him.
Yeah, and just too much, too fast, too soon, too varied, too multiple, all of that. And I think for a week where we have just been eating on Lamar, right? It's Lamar to the left, Lamar to the right. Can Lamar stay healthy? Lamar's running 16, 20 times. Lamar took 18 hits last week. Like all of those things about Lamar in a week where, yeah, we can talk about the offense and Lamar being sick, and the offense needs to get better. It needs to be about more than 15 and 89, as the kid in the secondary pointed out after the game. But now we can talk about the defense upping its game, upping its level for when they see Big Ben 2 weeks from now, when they see Cam Newton, and when they see Phillip Rivers a couple of weeks from now, that the defense is going to be something you're going to be worried about when the Ravens come to town.
Yeah, I think that's refreshing, right? Where defense wins championships, we saw a good defensive effort by the let's see, Las Vegas Raiders against the Kansas City Chiefs. I have to be careful with that one because it just doesn't roll off my tongue like the Oakland Raiders used to.
Dennis, I've already said the R word once this week, and I'm trying to stop
right.
doing that, you know?
Look, for us old school guys, it's difficult to make the transition to keep up with the revolving door of names, right, so to speak. But it's always nice to see the defense step up. To your point about the running game, let's not forget that the absence of Marshall Yanda, I think that looms big. When I saw Tyree Phillips in my service department last Friday, it wasn't a good look, right? He's hobbling around on left. He and I had a conversation, and they had a rotation at right guard between Patrick McCary and Ben Powers, 2 series apiece. So I'm curious to see how Pro Football Focus graded these gentlemen with the run block and the pass block, and to see how they figure that out. It was great to see Ronnie Stanley back at left tackle, but this team will go as far as the offensive line will take them, I believe. And I think, when you look at the running game, you can start and end right there with the absence of Marshall Yanda. You can't just replace a Hall of Famer in the blink of an eye, particularly 5 games into the season.
Well, and I think we're really figuring that part of it out in the way that we missed Ed Reed, and the way that we missed Ray Lewis, and the way that we missed Matt Burke, and the way that we missed Anquan Bolden. Like, we can go there you go, right? We go through all of those names, and I would say the way we miss Terrell Suggs right now, because we don't have that player. Matt Judon's not that player. But that being said, this defense, for having jettisoned now Suggs, go through all Earl Thomas, we'll go through the names, right? Jimmy Smith not being what he once was, and the cast of Brandon Carrs and the Tony Jeffersons and all those guys that went out, that they drafted the Matabukes and they drafted Queen, and these guys are playing, and as much as they had 6 picks in the top 106. This is the time where we're getting, and the leaves are changing, and we're into the heart of the season, and we've had some injuries now. You mentioned Tyree Phillips. That these young players are playing more of a role, Devin Duvernay, than we've seen in previous years. And that's a tip of the cap to Eric DeCosta. I mean, a lot of things are going right for the Ravens right now, including the virus.
Yeah, I mean, they've been very, very lucky, very fortunate, whatever you want to call it. But you have to like their position that they're in at this point of the season. They can get better. There's ample room for improvement, and that bodes well for this team. I think they're nowhere near hitting or stealing, which, as I mentioned before, I thought they peaked too early last year. There's a danger when you're playing lights out that early in the year. The Kansas City Chiefs, that loss notwithstanding, right? So there's a lot of room for improvement on both sides of the ball. You mentioned Devin Duvernay. Hopefully he can become a reliable number 3 target for Lamar Jackson. Hopefully he starts looking for him instead of number 15 and number 89, which the Bengals even mentioned after the game. This is all you have to watch on that offense when Lamar drops back to pass is 89 and 15. And I think that's a good point. He has to go through his progressions. He has to trust the receivers. Every time he throws towards Miles Boykin's direction, it's a disaster. I know Miles can block. He's a very big target. And when you see the kid from Notre Dame that plays for Pittsburgh now, Claypool, with 4 touchdowns, you can't help but think, we got the wrong Notre Dame receiver. But that's the way life is, and hopefully Miles will continue to improve. But until then, it was nice to see that reverse with Duvernay. You saw the speed, you saw the toughness, the quickness, and you also saw him catch a pass or 2, I believe. But they've got to open up the offense. And somebody asked me about Hayden Hurst. Do I miss them? No, I don't miss Hayden because I don't miss 3 tight end sets. I think now with 2 tight end sets, they're able to open up that offense even more, particularly as Duvernay continues to improve.
Well, and for Hollywood as well, who is the most special guy on the field in space, right? Like, that he can create a separation, and if Lamar finds him, that's where the explosives aren't going to be with Mark Andrews. There's going to be nice plays, and that's good. And maybe there will be an explosive in there, but the explosives here are Hollywood or Lamar running and making people miss. And I would think you're not going to see a whole lot of that against Philadelphia either. I think a little shutdown of Lamar for the next couple of weeks and having him only get bumper card 6 or 8 times this week instead of 22 times by the Philadelphia defense. That would bode well for Pittsburgh a couple of weeks from now in these games we need to win. Not that Philadelphia's going to be a pushover this week. I don't think that at all. But I think in a week where Lamar only ran the ball 2 times and you win 27-3 and you get the hell out of there and you keep everybody healthy, that's not a bad prescription for how to play either. That you don't need Lamar taking on 20 hits in a game where he doesn't need to do that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought they could run the ball against the Bengals, but as I said, once they got up on them by 17 points, they could do different things. I like how they tinkered with the offense. I like how they just made him pass. I didn't like the fact he hit two linebackers from Cincinnati right between the numbers. He should have had two interceptions, but you know what? When you have a practice game such as this one, why run the ball for 300 yards, right, and 70 carries when you can try to work on some of the finer points of the passing game? And I give the Ravens coaches and Lamar Jackson credit for trying to improve that passing game, because if he doesn't make mistakes, if he doesn't look for those linebackers, if he's not cognizant of that, how is he going to get better? So I like the commitment to the pass, because that is their one Achilles heels. Can they pass the ball outside of the numbers, for instance, right? So let's use these games with these all-around teams, not to pad our stats, not to have a historically, stout offense when it comes to running the ball. Let's try to get better at what we lack at. It's just like when I coached lacrosse, when we had a big lead against another team, I'd make my players use their offhand. So rather than winning 18-2, I'd rather win, 10-2. The other score isn't going to change, right? The defense was playing lights out. The Bengals weren't about to come back. So I do give them a lot of credit for sticking to a game plan, which made Lamar Jackson plant his feet and play the role of an NFL quarterback.
Dennis Koulatsos is here. He is with Coons Florida Security Boulevard. He is also with us each and every Thursday from 3 until 5, hosting the Dennis Koulatsos Show, which is rebroadcast on Sunday mornings. I'll be headed up to Philadelphia this week. Luke will be out in Owings Mills. Any breaking news brought to you by the WNST Tech Service, of course, and Coons Florida Security Boulevard. We're still 0%, right? I want to make sure everybody knows that, right? 60 for 0, right?
60 for 0 is a big deal, and I'm telling you, business is wonderful, and this is Baltimore. We do a lot of repeat and referral business, and WNST, for y'all listening, is a wonderful, wonderful medium to advertise your business, right? We all buy from each other, we support each other, and we always take care of each other. So I appreciate the great advertising from WNST.
Well, I appreciate you coming around on Thursday talking some football around here. It's always fun coming on with you. But for the league and everything this week, the COVID story's back, right? In the middle of the game, they moved 6 or 8 teams, schedules in the middle of a game, right, in the middle of a Sunday. Then there's the Falcons and their clearinghouse after that debacle in the Super Bowl. Nothing ever really went right again, right, as that story will be written. New York is 0-10 this week, Dennis, right? And COVID, more than anything, just where the schedule is that they need to put like an extra week of scheduling in here. And much like Major League Baseball has reconfigured the World Series to be played in the middle of Texas next week, and I don't go there for much of anything. And LeBron cutting down the nets, right, on Sunday night in a bubble where there was incredible success because they did what the scientists told them to do. I'm wondering where the rest of this football thing is going to meander. I watched Sunday night highlights in some stadiums where the Browns had people running around in Ohio and other stadiums don't. Some in Florida, they've got people running around. I'm wondering what the playoffs and the postseason environment are going to look like because COVID's going to find its way into these buildings.
The funny thing is, Nestor, I saw some video and some pictures of some high school games in Alabama and Georgia and Florida. They're packing 30,000 people at some of these games, right? So there's certain states that have, laxed their guidelines for COVID. But getting back to pro football, the league can move games. We're going to see the games. I was talking to my controller, and she's a big-time, she's from Pittsburgh, big-time Steelers fan. She said, I want to see the Steelers against the Titans, as I do. 2 of our rivals, big-time rivals, one will play twice, and the other one, we may also play them twice this year if they make the playoffs, and we make the playoffs, of course, but they're going to get these games in. They do have flexibility toward the end of the season, and you know what? If we're playing it to February and March, Nestor, who cares? We all love football. I don't care if they have football every night of the week. We all love professional football. I don't care if they have it every night of the week. Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. We'll they have it Thursday night. Why not Friday and Saturdays too, right? Just the more the better. It's a wonderful brand. We're all glad it is back. It's compelling, right? The storylines never end. My gosh, the injuries, COVID, the coaching changes, right? All the turmoil. But this is what we love about professional sports. It's real life. There's drama. It used to be a soap opera for men, but now it's a soap opera for women and everyone across the nation, right? So nothing unites us like professional football.
Well, the Dak Prescott thing was just unbelievable, right? Like that plays out in real time, in a real moment,
Sure.
In a real way. I mean, I was in the back in the bedroom watching. My wife was out in the front, watching. I'm working on the new website at Baltimore Positive and all, and I saw it. And then I heard Tony Romo say, I hope that's a cramp. And I looked and I'm like, oh my, I got up and said, wow, I got to walk away. I need a moment after that. And you realize, and I think we realized it when Flacco went down that day, right? Or when Flacco took that hit from Alonso, or when, John Ogden was boarded out in Atlanta, 20 years ago, right? Like we've seen it all. Ray Lewis was medevaced out of Western Maryland 25 years ago. I mean, all of these things, it's just a brutal sport. And, that speaks to why Americans love it, I guess.
Yeah, I saw that someone said, now, if you're ever wondering why players hold out, this is it. And I saw that noted that Ronnie Stanley liked that. So, yeah, they're trying to get paid. I'm sure they have insurance. I don't know if it's through Lloyd's or London, but I would think you have responsible agents that work on the behalf and good for the players, right, that would have insurance for something like that. But you just hate to see it happen. So on a day where we saw Alex Smith take the field once again after a 2-year hiatus and the gruesome injury he was
What team does he play
overcome,
for, Alex Smith?
The football team.
See, I tested you. You passed the test. You passed the test.
I used to call them the DC Football Club, whatever, but now it's the football team. Like Yay Football Team, that's their nickname, Yay Team. I don't know what the people down there in DC call them, but I'm just glad that we have a nickname versus a team or the football team, right? The team. So let's see how the NFL continues to market that disaster. But for a day where Alex Smith nailed down the comeback player of the year just by the virtue of setting his foot on the field, we celebrated that. We felt just as bad as the injury to Dak Prescott, and of course for Ravens Nation, Otero, Alaska.
Anything you want to say about Joe Flacco in a Jets uniform?
Look, I saw the pregame, when he was hyping everybody up and dropping F-bombs. I'm like, okay, you got to root for Joe Flacco. I don't know how you cannot root for Joe Flacco. I know that I was one of his biggest detractors when he was here in town. I'm always will forever be grateful for the Super Bowl, of course, 11 touchdowns, 0 picks, match Joe Montana, and I love Joe for that, and I wish him the best. He does deserve better at the twilight of his career. I'm just shocked he's still playing. I didn't think he had it in him, the fire, and he does deserve better than to play for an organization such as the Jets. He really does.
Joe's demeanor always belied the fire, right? Like, and I've always said he's my favorite Baltimore athlete for all of that. And this is probably how you expected it to end, right? That he would wind up as a Delaware guy, being the backup quarterback somewhere holding the clipboard. And if he did get to play, it wouldn't be on a 14-2 team, right? I mean, if he's the backup for the Buccaneers right now, he's probably in better shape, right? To be able to come in and play football.
Let me ask you this. I don't know who the backup is to Dak Prescott, right? But again,
Andy Dalton.
I'd rather have Joe Flacco over Andy Dalton, 6 days a week and twice on Sunday. And my point is, I know Joe wanted to play, but you see guys like him, Emmitt Smith, when he went to a very bad Arizona Cardinals team and got his head knocked off. My advice to these players is hold out for the right situation. Yes, you want to play for a contender. Can you imagine Joe Flacco throwing to Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, right, having Zeke Elliott in the backfield versus that disaster they have up there in New York, right, with the Jets. So to me, I think there's a lesson here if people are paying attention is hold out. Your number's going to get called, but why not finish up with a contender, even if it's in a backup role, right? I'd rather back up Dak Prescott than Sam Darnold if I'm him.
I don't know. I haven't talked to Joe since Marshall Yonda's press conference, and I think that was the last time I actually touched human beings. Dennis Koulatsos is here. You'll be here each and every Thursday from 3 until 5, driving you home. It is the Sunday Sports Voice, now heard on Thursdays as well as on Sundays. And, of course, Dennis is out at Baltimore Positive and doing the work that he does and blogging from time to time, as well as joining us a couple times a week and talking some sports and some life and some football. Anything on LeBron, I want to give you some space on that. And I know you're varied, and I am as well. I watched a lot of French Open. My wife, it's on during the day, and she had it on, and so I watched a little bit of the gal from Poland who won, which was inspiring and made me well up, and all of that, right? So I like tennis. I don't notice it as much, but certainly the basketball thing and LeBron, everybody noticed that.
Yeah, I tuned in Game 4, which the Heat lost. Game 5, of course, the Heat won, and I tuned in for the finale, Game 6. And look, I don't know what it does. I made the comment that if you put Michael Jordan on that Lakers team with Anthony Davis, they sweep that Miami Heat team that was grossly overmatched 4-0. And if you put Jordan on that Miami Heat team with Jimmy Butler, they take down the Lakers. Because we always talk about who's greater. Is it LeBron? Is it Michael? For me, by long shot, and for a number of reasons, I'm a huge Michael Jordan fan, and to me, it was never more apparent in the series. Michael Jordan stayed in Chicago, developed the legacy, attracted players to his town versus jumping all over the place and creating an all-star
You're
cast of his
sounding like an
buddies.
old guy now. You're starting
I
to
am an old
sound
guy.
like a get off my lawn guy.
No, but it
Dennis,
was
that's the way you want the NBA to work. It's not the way the NBA works. And I've just sort of walked away. Like I don't even follow the soap opera anymore, and I'm not like wearing that as a badge of honor as I go to Baltimore Positive. But I've been talking to all sorts of people about making the world a better place instead of watching the NBA lately. And I'm just when I've put it on, I'm not interested as much in the players. I'm not interested in the teams. The players move around. The teams don't mean anything. The jerseys don't look familiar to me. When I see the Atlanta Hawks, I don't think of Dominique Wilkins. When just all of that, all the way around, what the NBA, it isn't after me. It's after Christos and Peter, and apparently it has them. But I think as an appeal, the NBA is what the kids are watching, and they like it this way. It's one of the reasons you and I don't like it as much, right?
Yeah, the numbers came out. They're down 44% the last year's finale, right? So, excuse me.
That's all. 44%. That's all.
It's a big chunk, right? They lost half their audience, and now they're going to make some adjustments for next season. They should. You got to give them credit though for doing the bubble thing the right way. Give credit where credit's due. Nobody got sick. They were able to execute it. I don't know what it meant to the players. I don't know if it was how much more difficult it was not to play in front of a real crowd. And what was striking to me, Nestor, was I'm thinking, okay, this game is Miami. No, it's in LA. No, it's in the same place, right? They're going across the street. So the home field advantage was totally and completely erased. But it was a very fascinating series to watch.
Well, that's happening in football too. I mean, we're not going to play a Super Bowl with fans, certainly not with 70,000 fans, right? So, I've thought about these postseason games and whether they're going to bubble teams and whether they're going to fly them to someplace safe where the weather might be good, or they can put them in a dome. And they have this beautiful dome out in Vegas, and they have this place in LA, and they have they could get a whole hotel in Vegas and put them all there and create a bubble and walk them over to the stadium. And I don't know if they have turf or grass, but they could play games all day. There's all sorts of things they could do to stage this. But the one thing, and Dennis, I'll get you out of fantasy land now, bring you back to Coons Ford. You got to stay in business, during all this. My friends at Planet Fitness did not, right? The NBA, for finishing their season, they all got paid. They got their sponsors' money, they got their TV, whatever the 44%. The weirdness of the timing and the NHL playing for nobody seemingly except the country of Canada, right? That baseball's now going to run down to, and I haven't watched any baseball. I just haven't. It just hasn't come to me. I'm much more interested in who's going to be on the Supreme Court, who we're going to vote for, and when I'm going to be able to stop wearing a mask, and when we're going to get, when we're going to get a vaccine, and when we're going to be the normal, and when I can take my wife out for a romantic dinner and wave to people and like all the things that you want to do,
But you watch tennis, though. You watch tennis, right? How great was Nadal winning another major? I mean, it's wonderful, right? You watch some compelling tennis.
I'm not against it. I just think if they're going to complete the NFL season, seeing what I've seen in Tennessee, seeing what I've seen of the virus, believing Anthony Fauci, not the president, believing the scientists, for me, the scientists have said all along that if we didn't contain it, all these things would happen, and they pretty much have. And now we're going into winter where it's going to come back. And I think the NFL knows this. And I think knowing all of this, they're going to add a week. They're going to add a stretch week. They're going to move the postseason. They're going to get this in a bubble so that Tom Brady doesn't come down with COVID the week that they have to play the Rams in the playoffs or whatever it's going to be. They need to keep the players safe so they can finish the season. And I guess if there's anything to be learned from LeBron and the bubble and what's going on, and even what baseball has done now, is that I think the NFL is going to have to go into that mode in order to have a postseason where they don't wake up and say, Titans are dirty, they can't play this week. The NFL can't have that in January.
No, they really can't. And look, they have a lot of smart people there. They'll do the right thing. They'll distance the players enough. They'll protect them enough. As you mentioned, they may bubble them at some point, especially when you get to the playoffs. But you know what? So far, so good, particularly for the Ravens. They've been healthy, and let's hope that all the other 31 teams continue to stay healthy. That way we can have great stuff like this to talk about on Monday mornings.
Well, I agree. They don't have this in Tennessee right now, right? And I think we should be real careful on that. And I think I think the NFL, I want the NFL to finish the season. I want there to be a Super Bowl. I don't care if it's in March. You know what I mean? And I want it to be legitimate, more legitimate than maybe what this baseball thing has felt like to me, which has felt like the Eddie Feiner All-Stars, you know? And once the Titans go by the wayside and somebody else is dirty and they're moving all these other – it was cute when it was the Steelers and we took advantage of it 2 weeks ago. But it's going to be us next when – name the team. Colts, Patriots, any of the teams we play in the future, if they come down with it, it's going to start bumper car in the schedule. And I think you're going to really see a movement by the time – my birthday's this week, Dan. By Halloween –
happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much. By Halloween, a couple weeks from now, they're going to have another plan. And I just believe that. And I think the precursor to that is they can't have what's happened to the Titans happen to another team once – we get to the special part in the season, and I think there's so much money to be made. That's what I've learned about LeBron. You know, I mean, I'm not in fantasy land about any of this. What I've learned about the NBA is they got paid. They finished their season. They got it done. They collected their checks. They paid their players. They kept everybody safe. Nobody died. They did it. They did everything the way that the government of South Korea did it. You know what I mean? They did it by the book, and it worked, and I think the NFL is going to adopt that playbook so that 15 weeks from now they can crown a champion and make all of us happy and keep us all at home and get their 90 share and do all of that. I think the only safe way to do that is not have Lamar running around Owings Mills. That's just my opinion.
Well, a week ago, a friend of mine called and said, listen, the Ravens have a 4 o'clock presser. And I said, they always have pressers during the week. He says, well, the rumor is they're going to announce that 8 players have tested positive for COVID, including Lamar. Of course, that wasn't the case. It was Lamar was missing practice. He had a knee issue, whatever. But people are, everybody holds their breath and everybody's waiting for the Ravens, for their favorite team, their hometown team to test positive, right? So we're all in this, we're next type of mindset. People are very nervous about this.
Well, the city of Green Bay doesn't have hospital beds right now. Like literally, right? Literally. And that's a small town, and you ever been there, you'd know. But, it's a plague. It's a pandemic. And there's no way to wash it away. It's very, very serious. And I think for the NBA to have finished the season, kudos to them. I think there's a lesson to be learned there. I think baseball picked up on that by doing this bubble thing so that their games are on TV all day today, all day, all week. There'll be baseball on, and, they're hoping for 7 games and all, like they always do, but they're going to get away with this. They're going to get paid. They're going to have had a season of some kind. Nobody even watched the Orioles games, right? They kind of came and went. I don't know what their offseason, and we can complain about that later. The only thing I'm concerned about, literally, is football. You know what I mean? Like, I am gravely – I want them to continue to play every week. I don't want us to be the Titans, right? I don't want them to shut it down. I don't care if I go to a Super Bowl. I don't care if I get to go to another game. It is good that they're playing. I agree with that. I just think that there's billions of dollars at stake, including gambling, and they want that to continue too. Vegas, everybody wants that to continue. That I think that they will – they'll get more narrow in their scope of how they're going to do this.
Yeah, you make great points. Look, the New England Patriots were definitely different without Cam Newton. You can bet that the Baltimore Ravens will be much different without Lamar Jackson, should he test, God forbid, positive, right? So a lot of these, you hold your breath and you hope that their players are being responsible in their social distancing. They're not gathering in their dorm rooms playing Madden or whatever.
Well, they all have 6 foot. They have wristbands. They're all monitored. They're big brothered, literally, right?
I did not know that. See, there you go. There's information that I was not aware of.
You don't know they have 6 foot wristbands?
I don't know. This is the first time I'm hearing of it. I did not know.
Harbaugh has talked at length.
Are you serious? I missed that. Somehow it's just gone over my head. 6? Oh, that's great.
No, that's why the Tennessee Titans have gotten busted for breaking the rules.
Ew.
Everyone has a wristband that alerts them if they're inside of 6 feet, and Big Brother monitors them in the building. Because Dennis, if your assistant comes in with you and she's the person that gets 6 feet from you, and then someone in your shop gets COVID, then you see who the perpetrator is.
I like it a lot. I think it's wonderful.
That's how they did it in South Africa. That's how the schools are open in China. If you watch
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's how China's open right now, like completely open.
I think it's brilliant. Why not?
Yeah. So they use cell phone monitoring, but But,
Okay.
that's big brothery. You know what I mean? It is, right?
It is, but you know what? It works, right? If this is what you have, like you said, you have billions of dollars at stakes and lives,
Billions of dollars if you're the NFL.
So it's twofold. Look, if you're going to pay me that kind of money to play football, I'll have a 12-foot rule. I don't care. I'll wear anything. That's my
See, I got
mindset.
you out of fantasy land and got you right back to the business of football and on point to the fact that LeBron got paid. The NBA got paid, and they strategically at the C level, at the highest level, navigated it with doctors, marketing people, agents, lawyers, players, families. They got everybody in order, and LeBron won a championship, and they finished the season, and they got all their money. And, and there's a lot of businesses and a lot of places and a lot of people that that I know that are never going to recover from this. And for the NFL to get to a Super Bowl, they're going to have to take this more seriously than they have. That's all. Simple as that,
No, it's good stuff. Look, I got hooked for the NBA finals, and I was hoping for 7 games, not just for the restaurants and all the businesses that are local that benefit from that, but we like to see compelling storylines. That's why we love our sports. That's why we tune in.
Be tuning in this week to you on Thursday from 3 until 5. And then, of course, I'm up to Philadelphia this week for some cheesesteaks, some pretzels, and some tasty cakes, and hopefully another victory over the – it always feels good to beat the Eagles. I'm still pissed about Terrell Owens. So just so you know, anytime we could beat the Eagles and there's no fans there, I'm going to Philadelphia this week wearing purple, and there'll be nobody there. Oh, I'm going to melt this, Dennis. I'm going to melt it.
Nobody heckling. Yeah, go and get some cheesesteaks. And I told you, the water's different. The farther up you go, the sweeter the water, and that's why the pretzels taste much better than they do down here. Just so you know.
They're delicious. I can't.
They're
I
wonderful.
taste it right now. I wish I could keep them, but they don't stay fresh long enough. But man, I'd eat a Philly pretzel every day of my life. I would. I love them that much.
Look, down at the stadium, there's a guy that he comes down from Philadelphia, and I always get his pretzels because I know they're different than the stadium because of the water.
I've been getting them out in front of the vet, the Spectrum when I would go to concerts up there in the 80s. I would never, ever leave the Spectrum parking lot without having one of those pasty-ass pretzels in one of those little bags. Guy would break it off for you. You need mustard? No, I've never eaten mustard in my life. So, no, I don't want any. You don't know mustard? I'm like, it's all good. Here's your $1.50, dude. Right. $3 for 4. Okay, give me that. So I'm all into that. Hey, man, good visiting with you. We'll see you Thursday.
Stay well. Take care.
That is Koulatsos. You can find him out on the front of Baltimore Positive, the new Baltimore Positive, as well as WNST.net. We're now merging the brands here. I'm wearing the hat. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore Positive.